Hello and welcome to The Road To. I'm your host, Marlene Wecker-Barney. Stay glued to your chairs for the next hour because we're going to bring you a show that's filled with politics and fun. I'm going to introduce the panel. Fun already.
Hi, I'm here for politics and fun.
All right, and to my right, I have our conservative analyst,
Yes, to your
James Parmalee. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi, I run the Northern Virginia Republican PAC and Republicans United for Tax Relief, and yes, I am to her right.
And to my left, we have John Flannery, our regular progressive liberal analyst.
Yes, I think I'm a dyable liberal, and he's over there on the far right. I'm a recovering prosecutor from the South Bronx, and I now am a gentleman in Northern Virginia, where north of the Rappahannock a liberal can still survive. And I make my living representing the abused and misunderstood as a trial lawyer. And I tell people I do law and politics, but I get paid for the law. And I write columns and edgy editorials, and I'm excited to be glued to my seat.
All right, me too. And on my right again, but not to the right, we have Liz Miller. She's back again. Welcome back, Liz.
Thank you. I love being here.
And I love having you. And Liz, you're usually one of our analysts when you come, but today you're a guest. You're running for office.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
I'm running for the 32nd District House of Delegates against Tad Greason. I ran against him last time in 2013. I'm going to be running against him in 2015, and this time I think I'm going to kick his butt out of there.
Good. And to my left, State Senator Jennifer Wexton. Jennifer, please introduce yourself, and your first time on the show, so we're thrilled to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. As Marlene said, I'm Jennifer Wexton. I'm the new state senator for the 33rd District, which runs basically from Leesburg and goes east along the Potomac River and then down through parts of Ashburn, Sterling, and into the town of Herndon. I was elected in a special election in this past January, and I've been down at the General Assembly since that time. In terms of my background, I'm also a recovering prosecutor. I was an assistant Commonwealth's attorney in Loudoun County for a number of years, also served as a special justice, did a lot of work with mental commitment hearings, and was a substitute judge in the courts. Now I'm also a practicing attorney when I'm not serving in the Senate.
Great, and it's wonderful to have you here. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to get right to it. There's a lot of craziness coming out of Washington, and we're going to talk about some national issues. First of all, Hobby Lobby, the Supreme Court decision.
What I find really interesting about the Hobby Lobby decision is not the decision itself that came out on Monday, but the following decisions that came out that clarified it, basically expanding it to all the forms of birth control. The Hobby Lobby decision itself was just 4 methods of birth control. The expansion is all 20 methods of birth control. And then the decision that came out for Wheaton College, the conservative Wheaton College, not the liberal Wheaton College, there are 2. My niece goes to the liberal Wheaton College in Massachusetts, but we're talking about the conservative one in the Midwest. They didn't even want to sign the paper that releases employees to be able to get birth control from the federal government, and
The taxpayers, actually, yeah.
We pay taxes too, and it would have been through an insurance plan with the federal government, so the women would have been paying for it themselves as well.
No, actually, that's not exactly how insurance works.
That is how insurance works. You pay in, and if you need to get benefits out, you get benefits out, but you pay for those benefits.
But you're compelling someone to sign a paper against their moral beliefs. I would think that liberals would be upset about
it. This raises another issue.
Not a person. Not a person.
We have 2 attorneys
Somebody had to
here.
sign it.
No, it's not a person.
Okay, first of all,
not a person.
Is it constitutional? Is a closed private business now a person? We already got a ruling that corporations were.
The question
this is the same decision. This is the same decision. this court has decried those who think people are more important than corporations. 5-4. That swing vote has been critical in taking us back to the 1900s when, in a series of cases called the Lochner cases, Lochner, decided that a contract with a corporation was more important than labor laws that would limit bakers' hours working. And that represented a whole philosophy. That kind of decision represented a whole philosophy that the corporations are supreme. And there were historians like Beard who talk about the economic interpretation of the Constitution, which is it's for the business and for corporations. As we've gotten older as a young nation, we've had a more enlightened view, and we've recognized that the Bill of Rights really meant individuals have certain rights. We have a situation in this case and several others in which the Supreme Court is analyzing it that a corporation can assert individual rights that people have and trump their individual right, in this case for women, to have the right of choice over how to handle their own medicine for their own body, including birth control.
So if you incorporate, you lose your individual rights?
No, a corporation has no individual rights.
So
it
when
doesn't
I
have
incorporate a company, I lose my individual rights?
No, you get the protection against liability beyond your investment in a legitimate corporation.
And the government can come in and tell me I have to sign papers that are against my moral
That is
ways.
not what the government said. The government said you do not have to pay for it, but you have to sign a document that says, no, it says your corporation isn't going to be responsible. And then those people, the individuals who have different views than a corporate entity, a book, a ledger book, they get to have their rights respected. The right of privacy, the penumbra of the Bill of Rights that says they have a right.
Jim,
a word that's not actually in the Constitution.
Is the problem that you have with this that it requires Hobby Lobby or those other private corporations to spend money? Because, for example, I guess the kind of extension of this would be, well, it's against we don't want to follow non-discrimination laws because we believe homosexuality, for example, is inappropriate. So would that be an okay extension?
Are the Little Sisters of the Poor a corporation?
Well,
that's a different.
Are they people?
This decision did not talk about
I understand,
nonprofits.
but I'm sort of. But this is the slippery slope that you guys are placing.
No, it's
upon.
not. We have a long history that says
nuns having to purchase things
wait
that are
a second.
against
It's not
their
about.
moral
It
beliefs.
is not about nuns. Religious the Supreme Court, when it was more legitimate, carved out exceptions. Listen, carved out exceptions for a pure religious organization. Hobby Lobby is a corporate business. It is not a religious organization. And the fact that some shareholder, the fact that in a closely held corporation, some shareholders have views, don't allow them to take away the rights of the individuals who are real people who have those views. And what happens when the ownership of a corporation changes? I mean, what if you believe you should have no medical treatment in some religious belief?
At least you admit there are people in the loop of a corporation.
What happens if Hobby Lobby hires somebody who's got stroke syndrome, high blood pressure, should not ever have, should not be getting pregnant because of the drugs that they take to reduce their stroke syndrome, and so what their doctor says is the best thing for them is to get an IUD implanted. What right does Hobby Lobby have to say that that person's health care is not of concern to them and that they're not going to pay for that particular bit of health care when the person needs it, and any resulting pregnancy would automatically be aborted because the woman needs to not be pregnant because their fetus could be damaged from the drugs that they're taking.
If you're going to pick out extreme cases,
Well,
I'll pick out a very obvious
case.
What happens to the Little Sisters of the Poor?
Well,
what happens to them?
It doesn't apply to them.
But it's going to.
No, it doesn't.
Of course it's going to. This is what you want. What you want is every group in America to turn over their rights.
Nonprofits and religious organizations were absolutely eliminated.
So you guys would support all of those religious organizations not having to do any of this.
Religious organizations now don't have to do this.
But they are, hold on, but but no, they actually do. They still
No,
have
they
to pay
don't.
for the insurance. You guys have come up with some sort of jury-rigged thing
no.
where
No,
they
they
can
don't.
pretend
No,
they don't have
they
anything to do
don't.
with
No,
it.
they
No,
don't.
they don't.
And what
No, they
about the
don't.
rights of
That's
the
not what the law
individual in
says.
all this?
And also,
rights of the
you
individual.
guys, okay, you want to talk about the rights of the
Isn't
individual?
it
I know, you
setting-
want to talk about the rights of the individual.
Well-
I had a health care plan that I liked. I had a health care plan for years. I know. It's extremely humorous.
now this-
That's
It's
coming up
you talked about this
extremely
either.
That
humorous.
is coming up next.
Jim Parmley's health care plan, the
Yeah.
one that I liked, the one that the president promised I could keep,
Jim,
and all of that.
Jim, how much did you spend on that
cares?
one?
He had a
Who cares?
$100,000
How much-
deductible every
how
year.
much-
how much did you pay for it?
25 cents a
The
month.
plan that I have now, has like tripled my I think it's 6 times the out-of-pocket max. It's tripled the deductible. I've lost the dental care that I had included in the plan. It's got all these additional things, that additional increases throughout the plan.
Oh, well,
so it's a
You can
bad.
still get
I'm
Viagra.
really wondering because mine, the one I got.
Well, you're
through-
a teacher, right?
No, I'm.
Weren't
I'm
you a
not.
teacher? Oh,
I
government employee?
own my
Government
own,
employee? Okay,
No, I
all
own
right.
my own business.
Where did you buy so yours went down,
Mine went down.
and your deductible and all of that went down?
Yes.
Mine too, and
guess
my premiums
I am
are
so
less.
happy that I am subsidizing your health care. I
I've
guess.
Well,
Many,
no,
many
but
Oh,
no,
really?
I'm on the
Premiums went
unsubsidized
down.
one.
Yeah. My
This-
coverage
my-
went up,
yeah.
my premiums went down.
And
And my
I'm not
plan-
subsidized.
My plan, or the plan that was offered by the school system that I was employed by,
Well, of course, the school
recently
system plan is going to be
retiring,
better.
but-
It's a government. It's
But-
it's subsidized by it's paid for by the government.
I'm just saying it was the same insurance company, but the deductible became capped at a lower rate than it was before.
I don't know what your
Anthem.
Anthem Health Keepers. Mm-hmm. That's very interesting because ours went down. We're paying $761 a month for a family of 3, and
And what were you paying before?
And I was paying $800 a month out of my salary.
Congratulations, you're the only person.
Well, I
in
do think
America.
the Hobby
No.
Lobby.
No,
this
it's
is
a lot.
77% of
I
people.
But anyway,
tried.
no, it's
Hold on, but
better.
here's the thing.
One
I
out of
No,
five
I
tried, but
can't
hold on.
figure out how to
I
choose
was
a plan.
promised
I
I
think.
could keep my plan.
Okay.
I called in to find out what had happened to my plan because my rate, because of Obamacare, had been jumping, and I asked why had it jumped so dramatically, and they said because under the president's plan, you were unable, because we were non-compliant or whatever, we were unable to continue accepting people into the plan. So your pool shrinks just through people going to other plans, people going on to Medicare, and so on.
But-
So the risk pool shrunk and shrunk and shrunk, making it literally nearly impossible to stay on that plan. So what happened to the promise? What happened to the promise from the
I'll
president?
give you
that
my
I could
agent.
keep the plan
I'll give
that
you my.
I
I'll
want?
give you my agent.
But
It
no,
chose
I-
badly.
hold on.
It
I
chose
heard that.
badly.
Okay.
I know we're going to
you
be moving
guys.
on,
Yes.
but Jim,
Yeah.
could you answer the question that I asked you earlier
Mm-hmm.
about whether it would be okay for, given the Hobby Lobby decision, whether it would
Thank
be
you.
okay for a closely held private corporation to discriminate against people on the basis of their
Well,
sexuality?
I mean, as soon as you get, you guys want to talk about you guys don't want to talk about the nuns being discriminated against because of their religious beliefs.
Well, but the nuns.
I mean,
The nuns are not being discriminated.
IUDs
Well,
and all that
the
stuff.
nuns aren't having to do that.
But that's
Okay,
that's
no.
what
I guess
I'm
you don't
saying.
want to
Doesn't this-
You're
doesn't this-
obviously not actually paying attention
I
to
am
the
not.
actual rulings and the actual law. You're just
I
grabbing
guess-
onto what
To like
you've
my
been.
actual health care plan
Can
that I lost.
can we?
Weird.
Can I ask another
Yeah, this is
question?
what
I'm
usually
not
happens.
being
Real world
Okay.
examples. I'm
Well,
sorry.
real world
Real
examples.
world
Everybody
examples.
I
else
didn't
is
know
sorry.
that they
down
cut
and yours
off
went
your,
up.
they cut off
Sorry,
your
the real world
contraceptives. Is
examples.
that it?
Guys,
You
On
must,
the
you,
liberal-
must, you must have hunted for one that
I
actually
didn't
went
have
up.
to hunt. No, the government. The
Okay,
government
wait,
came.
wait,
guys,
I had to
one
hunt for
word.
it.
Let
The
me ask-
government came.
let
and
me
asked
ask
me.
a
Can a
question
corporation
here. Wait.
discriminate if closely held against employees
The
who
government.
have?
We understand that.
No, not
nobody
the
can
government.
discriminate.
Can a corporation?
Corporations can't discriminate.
Okay, so then why should they be able to discriminate in healthcare decisions?
They're not.
Why,
They
why,
are.
why,
So
why are
so
they?
whether
I'm
or
going to
not-
ask a question now, and I'm talking
Okay.
louder than everybody else, okay? Does this set a precedent? Okay, look,
Yes, it
we've been
does.
talking about
Yes.
nuns and about, the Catholic Church, which played a heavy role in this, I think, and all of the justices that voted for Hobby Lobby, were Catholic, but supposing the company is held by, and I'm not picking on any particular religion, but Christian Scientists who don't believe that you should have medical procedures, or Jehovah's Witnesses who don't think you should have blood transfusions, or Orthodox Jews or Muslims who think that you should have your head covered out of respect. Supposing they decide that you can't have your surgery, you can have your surgery, but not with a blood transfusion.
Or what about Jewish
or you need to
Jewish
wear a
organizations
yarmulke
Maybe
to
you
work.
guys should have let people buy their own insurance instead of having the government come in
I'm
and
just
destroy
saying,
our system.
does this set
Destroy our system?
a
We have no
precedent
good system.
that
Are you
opens
kidding?
I
a
wanted
can of
single
worms?
payer. What we have is you have to buy your own
I mean, I'm
insurance.
sorry. I'm sorry that. This seems to be working out fine for you guys.
No,
for
I'll
you
tell
guys
you what.
with,
No,
with money.
Guys,
wait a
listen,
second. If you're
listen.
over a certain age, you can get Medicare. If you're in the military service, you get TRICARE. So the rest
We
of
see
society,
how the military,
Okay,
the
guys,
rest
how
of
the VA
society,
is working.
You're not
That's
answering
the
my
VA.
question.
VA is coming
You're
apart.
not answering my question about
Yes,
precedent.
Marlene, this definitely opens
Yes.
up a whole can of worms.
Yeah.
We're going to see many, many cases with other examples like
Government
the ones that we
and
just,
government getting
that we
involved
just
in
talked
things.
about.
No, it's not
Opens
the
up a lot
government
of
getting
worms,
involved.
yes.
No,
Well-
it is private individuals imposing their belief systems, however
other
bizarre,
people.
You guys,
which
hold it.
normally
You imposed your
other
belief
people.
systems on me. I'm the
Yeah.
only one in this room currently getting imposed upon on healthcare. I'm the only person here who lost my health
That's
care
because
plan.
you have a stupid agent who couldn't choose
Well,
a good program for you. 4 or 5 people
I'm
in this
sorry,
room
I'm,
got
you
better
member-
I'm one of the
programs.
little people. I didn't have an
Are
agent.
you,
I had
are
to
you a
do it
member of
myself.
any business organizations?
They get commissions. You just call
That
them up.
doesn't
You don't
change
pay them
anything.
anything.
No,
I got
no.
it through. I'm one of those poor sucker businesses that pays for my own health care.
No, I'm just
Okay.
wondering, are you a member of
She's
like
one
the
of her
Chamber
own.
of Commerce? Or,
No, it wouldn't change anything.
No, listen. Are you a member of the American Bar Association or the
I'm
Virginia
not
Bar
a
Association?
lawyer. Sorry.
Are you a member of ARP, Jim?
Well, we're not.
Are you a member of
Not
AARP?
quite yet.
Are you a member of AAA?
Yes.
Call your AAA agent and say, hey, do you have any discounts on insurance for medical insurance? Because actually, now that I come to think of it, the reason I got probably less expensive than you got is because I bought mine through the Virginia Bar Association, of which my husband is a member. So you probably can get a better deal if you go through an organization.
But these were the plans that were on the website. And here's the problem: there's no discount on earth that can get me back the health care plan that I had,
So you
that I
went to the
liked, and
exchange?
that I
True.
was promised. No, I did not
believe
go
that's
through
true.
the government website because at the
well,
time
maybe
it
you
was
should
completely
have.
well. At the time, nobody could because you couldn't get through to the government website. Shockingly enough, the
check it out.
multi-billion-dollar
There's an open
plan.
We need an
enrollment
intervention.
coming up.
We do need. Here's what we need: an intervention where we roll back the clock, and President Obama decides
No, I
not to
think
get
he's- I
involved
think he can make
in
good
messing
choices.
around
All
with our
right,
health
we're
care.
going to move on to.
That's what we make
Did
a
you
living.
like
we're going to move
Romneycare?
on. We're going to move on.
We don't have Romneycare.
We-
I get to ask the
Romneycare.
questions now.
Go to
All right,
Massachusetts.
sorry.
Move to Massachusetts.
Okay, we're going to
really
move
be
on
uncomfortable.
to a
Yeah.
state topic and also somewhat of a national topic, Medicaid expansion. I believe that
Oh, go, Jennifer.
27 states have elected to expand Medicaid. In Virginia,
Why does it surprise me?
the governor wanted to. He's been blocked by the
Republicans in the General Assembly, mainly in the House
Protecting the
of Delegates.
taxpayers, yes.
Oh, dear God.
So,
Yeah, protecting the ill taxpayers from getting good health care.
And,
Jennifer,
and protecting
Jennifer.
hospitals from going bankrupt. That's what it was supposed
I
to be
thought
about. It
you
was
guys
Calm
were
down,
against the
Liz.
fat cat
calm
corporations.
down. Okay,
Gosh.
Senator Wexton, would you please tell us a little
Sure.
bit about what's going on with that?
Medicaid expansion was a very big deal in this session of the General Assembly. As I think you guys all know, it was a part of the budget that came out of the Senate. It was a compromise that was actually crafted by 3 of the Republican senators. It was called Marketplace Virginia. It was a private option. It was sort of a hybrid type thing, like as many other states have done, to be able to take advantage of the more than $5 million a day that we're losing to other states that we've already
We're
paid
not.
here in Virginia.
The money
We're
doesn't,
already
by the way, the
paying.
money doesn't go to other states.
We're
and you know
already
that.
paying. Well, we've already.
It doesn't go to other states.
And you do know that we're paying those taxes every day and not getting them
we
back.
pay the taxes regardless.
To be able to
At
do
any
that
point.
and to cover the people who are in that coverage gap, who are not, make too much for Medicaid and not enough to be qualified under the exchanges. So that was a high priority, and we were really hoping to be able to get somewhere with that. The House of Delegates, Speaker Howell had indicated in the very beginning of the session that
And Tad Greason,
who was his budget conferee, and and I think was tasked with doing the Speaker's bidding. Made it their highest priority, not to discuss it, not to talk about it, not to learn anything about it, just to obstruct. That was their entire game plan, and that's all that they did for the entire session of the General Assembly. And they were, ultimately successful, thanks to the nefarious scheme that resulted in the resignation of Phil Puckett and turning the majority in
Right, and we're going to talk
in the
about
Senate.
that next.
Now,
Governor McAuliffe did do a line item veto, and what has happened with that, or anything?
There already was a provision in the budget, and this is from Governor McDonnell's budget that was already in there, that appropriated whatever amount was necessary in order to implement administratively the additional people coming in through the expansion of Medicaid in Virginia, because that is something that had been anticipated. That was something that was a part of the omnibus, the big transportation bill, the creation of
Who
Merck,
anticipated it?
everything. The General Assembly.
We were promised that there were going to be reviews and so on.
And reforms, and
so
all of those
let me ask you this: you guys
have
were
been
given a
implemented.
deal that the average person was not told about. There was a secret deal to expand it.
No,
and
it's
change
in
it.
HB 2313,
I
the
understand.
transportation bill,
which,
and the
which
creation
Governor
of Merck.
McDonnell kept insisting
And it says
was
shall.
not what you said it is.
Shall.
Governor McDonnell, who signed it, said it was different. Said it was different than what you're saying.
No,
say
that's not accurate. And in fact, his own budget included the appropriation in order to conduct that expansion.
Are you saying you didn't know what he signed?
No, what I'm saying is that in order for you guys to get your multi-billion-dollar transportation tax increase, you then also got an expansion of Medicaid without any sort of cost, any sort of cost benefit
are you
analysis
kidding?
whatsoever.
Were you not reading the newspapers when that was all done? I mean,
Newspapers.
the newspapers were
So the
reporting.
newspapers are our bastion of truth nowadays.
They were
newspapers,
reporting
the
on this
bills.
all the time.
Governor's
It was
statement.
significantly debated. There was
remember.
a lot of discussion
I remember,
about it.
and they kept
and the
assuring
Merck
us that there was
Commission
gonna
got
be a
together,
a
and
serious
Secretary
review, and
Hazel
there
has
was
been
gonna be-
very,
there were gonna be
very
reforms.
active in
And,
this.
Where are the
and
reforms?
well,
The entire
that's
time.
actually a very good question, because the House of Delegates decided that they were never going to do a review. They were just saying no. We're not going to talk.
Reform.
No,
I believe.
they said no.
That's
Every
accurate. And there have
time
been
that
a
the
number of
Senate
reforms.
was bringing forth
Like real reform, actual reform, not just.
Every time the Senate brought forth the proposal that came back from the House of Delegates was no, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about it until after we've done the budget, and we're not going to include any of this stuff in the budget. And as though the money wasn't going to be coming from the budget. I mean, how ridiculous is that? As though it has nothing to do.
You wanted to budget for money that wasn't there yet?
Well, you need to talk about
That's what a budget is by
That's what a
definition.
budget is.
But
For
we're
a
using-
Democrat, for a
Well,
Democrat,
well,
for
the
anybody,
other thing-
budgeting
the
for
other
money
thing-
that may never
You
ever be
forecast-
there.
you
But for a
forecast revenue
Republican
and
budget
debt.
should be based on realistic assumptions.
Well, realistic assumptions.
Assumption
are-
is a forecast.
Turns out that
If
with
we
the
implement this
losing
program,
numbers,
the money will be there.
It turns
We're losing
For the
what?
biennium,
It
the
turns
money
out
will
it-
be there.
I-
100%.
Here's the fun part, or the sad
I'm
part.
sitting-
Fun.
I'm
Losing
sitting at
$5
home.
million
It's already not there
a
because
day.
we already this year had to go, and I had is the wrong word to use because I don't think we should have. We went into the rainy day fund already. You now have different budget numbers that have come in the last couple of weeks showing that you have to cut further. So the budget you guys came up with, is already falling apart, and you want to add
it's
another
not-
straw
it's-
onto the camel's
No,
back.
we want to take advantage of the more than $5 million a day that we would be getting from the federal government, but for our
And you have
reluctance
no
to expand
no
this
concern
program.
about the unpaid part of it. The unpaid part. This is
Okay,
not free money forever. It's never
Yeah,
not
Correct.
free
And
money
in fact,
forever.
if anybody
so you
had
wanna
taken
bust
the time
budget.
to actually talk to Senator Stosh or Senator Watkins or any of the senators who were involved in creating Marketplace Virginia, they would know that the majority of those federal funds are not going to be spent. In fact, we're going to bank those so that when there is that gradual reduction in the amount that the federal government pays from 100 down gradually to 90%, that we will have, that we will absolutely have the money to accommodate that.
So you think
And
that
then
5
what-
years of
Or-
5 years of a
what
scheme
about-
that may not be approved by the
not a
federal
scheme.
government
Are-
is
are
going
you
to
aware-
cover the deficits for the rest of
What
time?
about the 400? What about the ethical question of the 400,000?
Let's-
The
let's-
ethical,
you know
the
what?
ethical
You know what?
question
Let's
of
talk
the
about
budget.
Unlike
that
other
are
lots
not
of-
being
No, no.
Let's leave those
Yeah,
aside
I'd
for
like
just a
to
moment.
talk about the
And
ethical
40%
question of
40% of those
harming
are
healthcare.
children.
Hold on. I'd like to talk about the ethical problems that you
Let's-
guys have had supporting something that potentially hurts the healthcare of the actual of the truly poor by hurting a program that is already has financial
You
problems.
ruin them by
Why
giving them
not-
healthcare?
Why not reform the program? Work on fixing the program before you destroy it.
How is it going to
Because that's
help
what you're
people in
doing.
Southwest
You're
Virginia when
you
there's
are
no
harming
hospital?
the program.
When there are no
if-
when the hospitals close and there's
Yeah.
no hospital within
People-
250,
people
300
who
miles.
have
There are.
businesses
What
are
about
located-
No.
People who are wealthy
You got to
enough
decide
to have
whether you
insurance.
hate corporations or not.
No.
You guys have been attacking corporations.
No.
A lot of these
This is not
hospitals.
about
A lot of these
corporations.
hospitals are
I
making
thought- all over the
plenty
place.
of-
I thought
plenty
you were
of
for
money.
I think we're running
Okay,
out of time
we're
here.
running out of time. We
Plenty
have
of
to take
money.
a break right now. Stay glued to your seats. We'll be back in just a minute.
The tragic events of September 11th, there have been hundreds of violent attacks against innocent Americans.
Remember what that flag you're waving stands for. Remember, please stop the hate.
We're stronger when we are united.
Remember,
Remember what that flag you're waving stands for. One nation,
Under God.
Indivisible.
with liberty.
And justice.
For all.
in America, there's either room for everyone or it's not America.
Don't pick the wrong fight.
Let's keep America land of the free.
Stop the hate.
You'd never know it on the battlefield, but nearly half of today's military are National Guard and reservists. However, they can't answer our nation's call without their employer's support. If you're an employer, visit esgr.org and find out how to do your part. After all, their response depends on yours.
This is Mommy's bed. Me and Jenny were jumping on it. Mommy's gun fell on the floor. I was a cowboy. Bang, 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 bang. I said, Jenny, wake up, it's just pretend. But she wouldn't wake up.
I'm sick of this. I'm sick of dealing with you. I'm sick of.
I work 6 days a week.
Who
do you think you
Stand
are?
up straight. Don't you ever talk back to me again! You just shut up!
What are you crying about?
What a child learns about violence, a child learns for life. Teach carefully. We can show you how. Act Against Violence. Call 877-ACT-WISE for a free brochure.
Sweetheart, smoke outside now. You promised.
Okay, hon.
Sweetheart, smoke outside now. You promised.
What kind of man are you?
I'm a father.
Look here, my father was a father, and he smoked his brains out in the house.
Watch as he blows those smoke rings on my little red face.
You probably have asthma.
Asthma? Schmasma. I'm telling you, nothing's gonna happen to your kids. I swear.
Don't swear when you're lying. You know very well that thousands of kids get bronchitis, ear infections, and even pneumonia from their parents' cigarette smoke. And didn't you promise your little angels you'd smoke outside?
Hey, Daddy.
Those little devils are just so sweet.
Do the right thing.
Please, smoke outside.
Until you can stop, go out for your kids.
Take the pledge. Call 1-800-513-1157.
As time flows on, there are places we return to again and again. Precious places. Timeless places. Places that, with your help, can endure forever. I'm Paul Newman. Help the Nature Conservancy save the last great places around the world.
Welcome back to The Road to. We've been having a really enthusiastic, I guess is an understatement, discussion about Medicaid expansion. We're going to continue for just a minute, but Senator Wexton, I wanted to ask you a question related to the Medicaid expansion, and that is the change in the balance of power in the Senate by the departure of Senator Puckett. And how that came about. That caused quite a stir.
Well, it's actually under investigation. The circumstances are certainly suspicious and I would say, very disturbing, to say the least. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, in the state Senate, there are 40 senators. We were tied, 20 Democrats, I'm a Democrat, and 20 Republicans. But because the lieutenant governor who presides over the Senate is a tie-breaking vote in many areas of legislation. That gave, and it's Ralph Northam who's a Democrat. That gave the majority to the Democrats. So it was obviously a very delicate balance. And during session, Senator Phil Puckett, who's a senator from Southwest Virginia, a Democrat, his daughter was up for a juvenile domestic relations court judgeship, and the general. I don't know if it's so much a rule as the tradition in the Senate is that we don't vote on family members of sitting senators. Mm-hmm. So that was something that had been problematic for Senator Puckett during the session. And before I was elected in the special and Linwood Lewis was elected in his special election, we took the places of Attorney General Mark Herring and Lieutenant Governor Northam. The Republicans were in the majority in the Senate because we had 2 vacant seats on the Dem side. So during that time, Tommy Norment was the chair of the Courts Committee, which controls, the judicial appointments, and he had told Senator Puckett point blank, well, too bad that you're a senator, because if you weren't, you wouldn't have, your daughter could become a judge, but I'm not going to put her on the docket. Because you're here. And, as a father, I know that was something that was concerning to him. But then apparently that wasn't enough because Delegate Kilgore, who chairs the Tobacco Indemnification Commission, which is basically a organization that doles out millions and millions of dollars without any oversight, it appears, to revitalize the tobacco economy in Southside and Southwest Virginia. Well, then I will just point out there's no elected Democrats on there. Delegate Kilgore dangled this position of a directorship with the commission, with a salary to be determined, but they can set their own salaries. It would most certainly have been a 6-figure salary, and Senator Puckett took it. And he resigned without any notice. Went to
on a Sunday.
On a Sunday, called the clerk to go meet him at the General Assembly, and cleaned out his desk and absconded into the night. So it was very disturbing for all of us.
The Tobacco Commission then withdrew the offer because it created such a brouhaha.
After the newspapers disclosed everything. Yes.
And so he basically sold out, and for nothing. His daughter's probably not going to get the judgeship either.
And now there's a criminal investigation, as there should be.
Yeah. It's what's kind of interesting to me is that he has been an anti-choice legislator and also anti-gay for a very long time. He's one of the folks who says that they're on the Democratic side and votes for Dick Saslaw to be the head of the caucus every time, but really voted very often with the Republicans. And so I, as a pro-choice person and on the board of NARAL Pro-Choice Virginia, had really been quite upset with him and Senator Colgan before all this for a long time, and somewhat upset with Dick Saslaw for giving him $600,000 in the last few elections. Some of that money could have gone to Sean Mitchell, who was running against Dick Black in the most recent senatorial general election, and he could have won. I'm angry.
Well, I mean, none of us, with the benefit of hindsight, maybe none of us knows that. None of us knew that Phil Puckett was going to resign.
But at the same time,
you know, we do have two, you know, or at least did have two. Who, because of their very conservative religious beliefs on the Dem side, were not pro-choice voters. And you know, we have a diversity among our caucus, and people certainly have to vote their conscience. So I understand that, but we actually have some other folks across the aisle who vote with us. For example, we voted in the Senate to repeal the mandatory ultrasound law in this session.
But I think independent of the ideological issues here, what you have is bad conduct. Whether or not he was a Democrat or a Republican, what he did was outside the bounds. And so while we might have lots of reasons for him staying or leaving, depending upon our ideological view or how we think issues should turn out, he did the most selfish thing and didn't care about the party, didn't care about his promises to anyone, didn't care about his vote supporting the leadership, and apparently hightailed it out of town, which is consciousness of guilt, because he didn't dare tell anybody what he was doing.
He did tell people beforehand, because Governor McAuliffe was calling around trying to arrange another place for his daughter to land. Business-wise and so on.
Beforehand,
I think this probably.
I mean, he was
begs a bigger question,
enough time for the governor to find people jobs.
When are we going to see some real ethics reform coming out of Richmond? You know, the omnibus. Actually, it was Tommy Norman, the Republican leader, who watered that down so much.
I didn't want to interrupt while you guys were jumping on Democrats. But let me ask the question though: what's the difference between what Phil Puckett did and the two Democrats that Governor McAuliffe just gave jobs to in the last couple of weeks that we're now having special elections for? What's the difference?
That is not at all. I mean, that's basically what people do.
I understand.
My predecessor, my Republican, I believe, predecessor in the 33rd district, Charlie Waddell, did the same thing. To take a job with
the Democrat stepped down, took a job, Republican took the seat. Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. There's nothing illegal about it.
Right, and that's. So I think that's potentially a problem.
Well, but there's a consideration here that doesn't always exist. I mean, besides deciding to run or not, and giving up your position and changing the center of power in the legislature.
So it only matters if it's a time.
No. Well, you know, some people say, and I sort of share this view, that donations are just acceptable bribery, and but you can't buy somebody for $250. But when there is a quid pro quo, this for that, it changes. Well, and that's the hypothesis that you test.
So one thing that we could do as a part of any kind of ethics reform is have, for example, a 1-year moratorium, as they do on Capitol Hill. You can't go back and lobby, you know, immediately after resigning your seat, or you have a 1-year moratorium before you take another state position or something like that.
Do you think the other two Democrats who took state positions from the governor are giving up their seats? Do you think that they should be investigated also? I don't think. I think none of them have broken the law. But I'm just asking you guys if you want Phil Puckett to be investigated.
I didn't say that I wanted Phil Puckett to be investigated. I said that
I said it. I'm comfortable saying he is being investigated.
John wants to do the prosecution, right? I mean,
no, I've got other things to do.
The thing I think is that there is a slight difference, and I feel this way about Republicans taking these jobs, Democrats taking these jobs, that if there is a job already in place that you're nominating somebody for, like for instance, Kerry getting Secretary of State, for instance, right? That job is already there. The amount is defined. The salary is defined. They created a job that they were going to put Puckett into, salary to be determined.
Name your own salary.
That's a different story than saying we want to put you in charge of Health and Human Services, or we want to put you in charge of the Corporation Commission. If that Corporation Commission job already existed, has a defined salary, whatnot, I don't think it's kosher But I also
now we're following religious law. Finally, we've gotten her to agree on a religious law. Okay.
But
I think it was a metaphor.
Hobby Lobby would
Actually,
be
it's an
pleased.
idiom.
I think it, you know, it smells a little off, but if there's a defined position there already, it's different from what they were given to Puckett.
No, here, it's not just, that's part of the circumstance. But the killer here, and the reason there has to be an investigation, is there is a specific event that's occurring as a result of leaving that job. It's not just giving up a legislative job. It is giving up the fight as to Medicaid, a specific thing in which the lines are clearly drawn, in which by him doing that, he determined the outcome.
But John, it's not illegal to
no, it is.
That's
That's selling a vote. That is selling a vote by giving up all your votes.
Okay, what about the other two? This is my point, though. The other two, they've given
give
up
me
their vote. Now, is it only
But
because they're
generally-
in the minority?
What is the trade? What is the trade?
And
what is their trade?
Well, I'm saying there's no trade.
Well,
I'm saying overall, there's not an illegal trade
Well-
because the governor steps in and says, here's a job for you, and understanding that you're going to have to leave it. That you're giving him a job, he's leaving the General Assembly.
But
They
he's
gave
doing it.
Phil
Well,
Puckett
but
a
he
job,
was
or they
doing
didn't
it
even give him a
outside
job.
of
They didn't
session.
even give him a job.
He said at the end of, X date when we're in break, I'm going to retire. That was the most recent folks. Puckett did it in the middle of a special session. There is a difference. There's a difference between leaving when there's no pending business in front of you, and that the next pending business is going to be after the special election, and leaving when there is pending business in front of you. In fact, there's pending business in front of you on the next business day.
So the
Yeah, and
law
I
is
think
dependent upon
what makes
whether
it
there's
even
a
more
vote.
questionable,
There
though, is what you
are a
said,
lot of
is what-
suspicious circumstances.
Yeah.
I think there's no
But is
question
there
about that.
anything
But we'll
actually
have
illegal?
to see.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what the outcome
we'll
of the
have to
FBI
see.
But I mean, it's
investigation.
You
kinda
can't
like-
say
It
it's
would
not
be a
illegal
challenging
or
thing to
it
prove.
is illegal. What Liz's point, I think, was well taken, that it makes it questionable when it's a position that's created for you, name your own salary. It's sort of
So you're saying that a Democrat did something unethical,
bribery.
and I'm
I'm
saying
saying a
that.
weak individual with very little character made a very bad decision that may be criminal.
Yeah.
That's what
Well,
I
if you
say.
guys want to attack a Democrat,
Nobody's saying
Well,
it
the-
only
No,
was
I'm
Democrats,
I'm
only
suggesting-
Republicans.
Well, we have
Perhaps.
Delgadio on here too. I mean,
Okay.
it's not about Republican or Democrat. It is about people who have a public trust
it
to
is
betray
about,
it,
is
and we
about
have to investigate
innocent
this.
until proven guilty. We're still
Yeah,
going
we're
with
gonna
that,
actually
right?
we're gonna actually
Well,
move
That hasn't
on
been
here.
removed yet,
In
has it?
deference to
Actually, it
Can I
has.
check
Can I
No,
just-
actually, it
in
has.
deference-
I'm living in a liberal world here.
I
No,
also-
no,
I also
we
just
have a
really feel
predicate
very
that
sorry
says that,
for
but it's
Puckett's-
not
Healthcare plan out the
obeyed.
door,
Okay.
civil rights out
That's
the door.
different
Can
than
I just-
criminal
can I just say
conduct.
one
out the
last
door,
thing?
Constitution out the door. Okay.
Jim.
I
Sort
feel,
of.
I
I
feel
agree that
sorry
that's
for
what's happened,
Puckett's constituents because he actually has a majority of constituents who needed the healthcare expansion.
Yeah,
and that's really just
that's
sad.
a good point. Okay, we're moving
go
on
on.
now.
Polls
We're
show
moving
that
on.
polls show that
Okay,
many of those folks do not want it.
In deference to the co-producer, my co-producer, and my husband, who is also a football coach, we are going to take a minute or two to discuss the Washington Redskins and the whole controversy over their should they change their name, should they not change their name.
It's
Quick
simple. It's a
survey.
racist slur, and it should be removed. And the times have changed, and he can make a lot of money doing the right thing. And he's made a Custer-like stand, Dan Snyder, ironically. I will never change the name, which luckily, in terms of political advice, if we were to give him any, would say that will help assure that the name will be changed. And God bless the world when we do it. That's what we should do.
Okay.
It's not. It shouldn't be a big, serious question.
I tend to agree with you, Jim. Any other?
Well, I just, I've been a Redskins fan since I was a kid. I'm a native Washingtonian. Always, love the Redskins. I have a little shirt, 1972 Redskins NFC Championship shirt. So that's how long, I've been a fan. And it's one of those things. I got to ask though. I mean, with all this, since we were jumping in and jumping on Democrats earlier.
We're going to make this about politics now?
Well,
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just asking. I mean,
All
what
right,
would you say? What's this Redskins caucus? The
that
General
Tad
Assembly.
Greason's on.
But also so.
Well, I
is,
disapprove of it. I
So is
disapprove
Chap
of it.
Peterson and liberal Democratic blogger Ben Tribbett was on
I actually
on
think
board
that
for
it's,
it.
I love them,
that
and
it's
they're
an
dead wrong.
inappropriate
It's simple.
thing for legislators to be involved in. It is actually a private business, and if they want to keep their name, they should be able to keep their name.
I just said, whoa. They're not a private
Well,
business.
hang
They
on.
take tax
Hang
dollars
on just a
from
minute.
Maryland and Virginia.
Hang on, I think
and it's
that they
our
should,
business.
I think that they should change the name because I think it's racist, but I don't think legislatures should be involved.
I think legislators should be involved, and I think the legislators who are involved the wrong way. And of all states, the Commonwealth of Virginia supporting this kind of nonsense, I think is a shame and a disgrace. And I love Ben Tribbett and I love Chap Peterson, but they're dead wrong on this. They're regressive to an infinitely offensive degree. And that's one of the reasons why Ben has quit his position with the Redskins, because all his friends say, what is wrong with you? It's a great team. Get over it. Change the name. That's what we should do.
The thing that upsets me about the whole thing is that we do give state money and federal money and give them
the stadium in
and give
Maryland.
them a monopoly and all that sort of stuff.
Actually, the stadium was private.
And now they're trademarked.
Jack Kent,
$30 million.
Cook built that on his own.
Taxpayers'
Might
money.
be the last
Any
guy in
thoughts,
America
or
to build his own
staying out of
stadium.
this one. I don't blame you, but I'll say this: maybe it'll go to the Supreme Court and the Redskins
It'll change
can claim
before
that it's
that.
their religion,
It'll
and
change.
therefore they can
It'll
offend
change.
everybody and keep the name, or not everybody.
It'll
but
change.
Some people.
Snyder,
All right, we're moving
Snyder's
on.
an artifact that'll be passed over.
Okay, so Loudoun County, we're getting down to the loco supervisors. $38 million. Loco is Loudoun County.
I know, I'm joking. Is that your level entendre?
Well,
Yes,
in this
definitely.
case, it was actually
probably is,
Washington
yeah.
Post living in Loco.
Casa Loco.
They had
Casa Loco.
a $38 million shortfall as far as funding the public education system, but now they've announced that they want to take $20 million to build an indoor firing range.
It seems to me they're already able to kill people without the firing range, so why should we get them one?
Also, wasn't when the fancy schmancy firing range opened up in Ashburn, near where the Redskins bubble is.
Fancy.
These are champagne. I guess no alcohol, but these are valet parking.
It's a cappuccino
Eagle
bar.
something or other.
Silver.
Silver Eagle, yes. When Silver Eagle opened, they said that they would be open. It's a state-of-the-art shooting range, and that they would be open for emergency services throughout the county and also in Fairfax for people to come and use it for, I think, like some moderate fee.
I've shot there. It's not expensive at all.
Why do we need to create a $20 million facility when there is already a state-of-the-art facility that, considering how many ads they sent to my inbox, is underutilized? So.
And that's a good public-private partnership, right?
Exactly.
There, which I think certainly, Jim, you can probably get behind that.
I'm completely unfamiliar with this issue, but I think I can comment on it anyway. No,
that's the way. I love it.
Is this a completely? This isn't something that's being used by the police for target practice?
Yeah.
Is this a police facility, or is this for the public?
The $20 million would just be for the police to use.
So average people, so non-police officers would not be able to train.
Exactly.
Oh, well, then what you're talking about, okay, I'm thinking you were talking
but
about
police
subsidizing like a
already
private
do,
bowling alley. or
Police
something.
already do have a firing range, an outdoor firing range, plus the
Silver Eagle, which is an indoor firing range, plus
so this would be
situation
like paying for
and
a nice
situation trainings.
The other issue is that Loudoun County had an opportunity to opt in with other local jurisdictions. I think Fairfax and some of the other ones. The Northern Virginia Criminal Justice Academy, which is in Ashburn in Loudoun County, the officers for I think Alexandria and some other localities are also trained there, as well as Loudoun County. But we had an opportunity to opt in with them, and this is a facility you're not probably going to need to use every day. So why can't we create one that's multi-jurisdictional? jurisdictional and have more economies of scale, where the counties working together.
It's curious to hear you guys talking like fiscal Republicans, but so what is your objection outside of budgetary reasons for the firing range? Is there something else other than saving money? Because I like to save money.
Is there enough need is there a need that justifies the expense? I mean, I think
especially
that's how
when you're belt
tightening
tightening so much that you're not paying for the kids' education.
I'm generally in favor of the government belt tightening. I guess I just don't. I don't know enough about the issue to know if there's a need.
It's also duplicative of existing things. So
are they closing some of the other ones in exchange for the newer one?
No.
We're going to have Jim Stafford work this one out.
It's just like
I would prefer them to put some of that money towards drug court. Which would have a better outcome anyway in terms of fiscal responsibility and keeping the jails
and stopping recidivism.
Yes, and stopping recidivism.
We have an ethos, at least in Loudoun County, in which now all of a sudden, if you look anywhere, including the courthouses, including the people who are in charge with animal protection, are now wearing bulletproof vests. They're wearing bulletproof vests inside the courthouse. They're wearing it even when they're witnesses. And we've had 3 incidents in the last year in which people have been shot dead with instruments that, at least from my experience in the South Bronx, the cops would have slapped them down or just talked them down. Now we're killing people. We're in the wrong trend, and we're hiring people who are coming back from battlefields, and we're not giving them different rules of engagement, apparently, because if someone raises their hand like that when you tell them not to do something, even if they're a mental defective, we're shooting them instead. That's just
I'm
not
not sure I agree
acceptable.
with you on that, John. I mean, I know a good
Too
bit
close
about
to
a
your
lot of this stuff.
prosecutor.
Well, no, and you really, where officer safety is concerned, I think that there's a lot more to those stories.
Well, like when we kill a Philippine woman.
As somebody who's been held up at gunpoint 3 times, I do think that the police are a little too quick to pull out their guns. On the other hand, I do understand it.
It seems so, but I think it's a whole cultural thing, really. It goes beyond the police. But we need to move on to another Loudoun County Board of Supervisor topic, which is Supervisor Delgadio from Sterling, my district. And he had a recent court ruling, and John, you were involved with that.
Dear to your heart.
Well, it's not dear to my heart. I became a federal prosecutor because I was upset with official corruption a few years ago. And I got hired in an office in which the U.S. Attorney had in fact indicted his boss, John Mitchell, the Attorney General of the United States. And I thought, that's an office that's serious because the U.S. Attorney was himself a Republican, indicting a Republican. And I prosecuted a congressman who was a Democrat from Pennsylvania for bribery myself. So it's not a partisan thing. And I think that Delgadio has stood out from maybe all officials in Northern Virginia, if not the Commonwealth of Virginia, been a national disgrace for his gay bashing. But this particular case is about him doing at least 2 things. One is screening employees based on what their religious beliefs are and what their beliefs are on issues involving gays and immigrants and a number of other things like that. The second thing is he allowed his staff to raise funds so that underwriting his campaign. These 2 things are separate from what I find are his toxic views on individual human rights. A grand jury ran away from a prosecutor who wouldn't find any crime to indict and insist on writing a report themselves, and they wrote it themselves, and she never approved it. That was the second time she found there was nothing wrong with this man's conduct.
That's not what she found.
That is what
she didn't find there was nothing wrong with his conduct. She found that there was not sufficient evidence to go forward on a criminal charge. And as a prosecutor, you should.
Well, first of all, my experience with the criminal justice system is the following. Justice is a coincidence of the system, not a consequence of it. And guys like lawyers like me and others help make the system honest. And if we don't make the arguments, they're not made. And in this case, this individual had satisfied a state statute. And I told the judge on 3 occasions we had to dismiss this prosecutor because she had a predetermined view of it. And we put sufficient evidence in the record of this. And the judge dismissed the case based on her view of the credibility of witnesses without a trial. A local newspaper ran a little poll, and 35% said there should have been a trial, and 30% said we don't have good laws to take care of corrupt officials.
Wait, so now we're going with a poll?
No.
An online poll and a website, and we're overruling the Democratic prosecutor.
Well, you know, here's the tolerance of misconduct. The tolerance of misconduct
is in trouble with her Democratic committee because she backed a
you
Republican.
Guys just going after Democrats
I really
today.
don't think so.
I'm going to go get a code.
But that
and I'll
shouldn't
be back
factor
when
in.
you're
That
done.
should not factor in at
Well,
all.
it does factor in.
Anybody in a constitutional office, any prosecutor, anybody, the sheriff, it should not be about what your political affiliation is. I kind of disagree with John on this, and I know that he's been very intimately involved in this case. But I mean, I think that as a prosecutor, we could do a whole nother show on prosecutors who go forward when they don't have enough evidence, and we've all seen a lot of that. But you know, she was ethically bound after, and she had spent 2 years investigating this case, as she said, thousands of dollars.
She looked in all the wrong places.
Republican, John would have jumped on her for being partisan. So I'm just saying she's a Democrat.
I would not.
She was doing her job.
We agree. So we agree because the prosecutor was doing their job. There you go.
She never deposed him for before the grand jury thing. She never sent any discovery demands before at all to his office. So her impression that it was all based on the employee's testimony, it was just he said, she said, she never went farther than that. And she had gotten that impression from the very first time that Attorney Plowman sent her the case because he wanted to recuse himself. And that's upsetting that she did not really do her job.
The bottom line is that the people in the grand jury were the only ones who called out this supervisor. The Board of Supervisors censured him despite their party's disagreement, and now it's going to be left to the people to kick him out of office.
So wait, is he innocent?
Okay, that's the bottom line. We have 30 seconds.
He's guilty.
30 seconds.
Presumption of innocence is gone. Presumption of
last
innocence.
statement. Any last word?
The answer is to
beat him in an election.
Beat him in an election.
In an election.
How about you, Jim?
I've been assured here by the state senator here that the prosecutor did their job. So I'm going to agree with that.
We're out of time, guys. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Come back again. We'll be here next month. See you then. Take care.